Madness Podcast! The best of the underground! Make madness your ritual!
Hey, welcome back, folks. How's it going? It is Friday. You know what's happening. Hanging out here in the studio, chilling out. Going to do something. Do an interview with someone you might know. If you are looking at the starting soon screen, we've got Will Maravelas joining us this evening. I'm the Hexkin. This is Ritual Madness Podcast, episode 218. I'm going to run through some things real quick. Do me a favor and check out, let me see here. I'm trying to get my screens together here. Anti-Broadcasting Incorporated, custom screen printing. If you're looking to get some screen printing done, do me a favor. Check out Anti-Broadcasting Incorporated, antibroadcasting@gmail.com. Give them a shout, 612-836-9488. They do some fantastic work. I know there's a lot of local bands here in the Twin Cities that use them. They're a fantastic service. They do great quality shirts, great turnaround. Give them a shout. Again, antibroadcasting@gmail. Give them a shout for a quote, 612-836-9488. Also, check out Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective. Jason and the folks down at Lowbrow Saints, great people to work with. You're looking to get a tattoo, stop down there over in South Minneapolis there on a Minnehaha. I think it's 3500 Minnehaha. Or reach out to them, 612-353-4755. Also, lowbrowsaints@gmail.com. Hit those guys up for a quote. And I hope you're doing fantastic on this Friday evening. I am hanging out with Mr. Will Maravelas. How are you doing, Will?
Hey, Greg, how's it going?
Not too bad, man. You know, we're doing this thing like we've never done before, you know, with the whole COVID thing going on. How you been, dude? It seems like forever since I've seen you.
It has been a very long time. It's been a trying year for everybody. It's been pretty crazy. You know, I was thinking about the last time that I went to and played a show, and the last event that I remember, I actually wore this shirt for this reason. It's a Vitriol shirt.
Yeah.
And it was Vitriol and Vader and Hideous Divinity all played at the Skyway, and about 3 weeks later the whole world went to hell. And you know, we just kind of, little did I know that February date was going to be the last time that I went to a live show for over a year. So it's been pretty crazy.
Insane, man.
Yeah.
So you've had a ton of stuff going on since the last time I saw you. You were about to open some rehearsal spaces. You guys were doing really well with the 1459 studio. So how did
it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, how did that come to be? I know you were talking about putting some studio stuff together. How did that all come together?
So basically what happened is I've kind of done a rehearsal business alongside the studio for the better part of the last 10 years. It's just been smaller. There was 3 rehearsal spaces. And my bands compromised one of the rooms. So I had a couple of tenants that were basically helping me pay the overhead at the studio effectively. So the studio thing was, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of the main thing in the building. And I just had some extra rooms that I rented out to some friends. That's basically what happened. About 2 years ago, actually, I started 3 years ago now because we lost 2020. But 3 years ago, I started kind of looking around at kind of expanding that and going, all right, well, how could I potentially help the community more, have more rehearsal spaces, and still be able to do my studio? But instead of having like 3 rooms, have like 5, have like 10, that kind of thing. And I made a bunch of phone calls, looked at a bunch of different places, looked at buying a building, looked at renting a bunch of different places, had a couple deals that were really close to making sense, didn't pan out. Ended up calling a building in St. Paul, and just kind of was inquiring about renting the top floor of that building, because it was basically an unfinished floor that had 2 freight elevators in case one broke down. So, because, you know, we all love lugging gear upstairs, right? And ended up talking to the building owner, who happens to be an investor, and told him about my idea. And he goes, "What's holding you back from doing a 20 space situation or like a 30 space situation?" And I said, "Dude, I'm a musician. It's like it's capital.
Right.
I don't have thousands of dollars lying around, and that kind of thing." And he goes, "Well, what if somebody believed in you and actually gave you the money to do it?" And he did. And about a year and a half later, the building actually finished. It actually finished in August of 2020. Um,
Dude,
and
you were
so we
making
are,
you were making such a big push for that. I know that
yeah,
I was looking
yeah,
for a new space at the time as well,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I was part of the in the email of everything, and it was like you kept checking in with people, making sure that they were still available and wanting to get a new space, and it seemed like I mean, the list was huge, and it was like you were.
Was
People were interchanging quite a bit, and you were letting people know and showing the layouts of how everything was going and what you had in mind. It was really cool to see you so so in touch with everyone and letting them know and keeping them in the loop of the whole thing. And dude, it was fantastic. I really wish I would have been able to come with you, because it sounded like such a fantastic like collective of cool people. And it's like, I know you through the music scene, and many people know you through the music scene, and you don't really associate with people that are, you know what I mean, are shady folks. You keep your group pretty tight knit. And
I
so
tried to.
I
I
can
definitely
imagine.
tried.
I can imagine. Well, when you're in a business with a studio and so many thousands of dollars invested in everything, you don't want to have a bunch of riffraff coming in there. You don't want to have, sorry to say, but you don't want a bunch of rap groups coming in there. No, but it's I can imagine that you've got some good folks. How many bands did you say you have in this space now?
The amount of, I think the official count of bands that are in there, there's 22 rooms plus the studio.
Okay.
The number of bands that are in there is around 30, 33, somewhere in there. I forget what the actual number is, but there's multiple rooms that have multiple bands.
Okay.
So there's about 85 people in the
Wow.
building. So it's a pretty crazy endeavor to have all that there. And yeah, it took a while to come together with the COVID thing happening and everything slowing down, of course. But the whole thing of doing it was, yeah, it's a business at the end of the day. But the whole thing was, I wanted it to be a community more than anything else. And the deal made sense for everybody. It made sense for me. It made sense for my business. It made sense for the investor. It made sense for all the bands and all the musicians.
Right.
The spaces are brand new, and they're more affordable than a lot of spaces that are, what's the best way to put this, falling apart in town.
Right.
We'll be professional.
Yeah.
It was the whole reason that I went and kind of did my own thing with the studio, was just because I wanted to kind of, I guess, get away from the traditional rehearsal space. And here I am back in one, but it's just nicer than I ever anticipated.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think the last time I spoke with you, you were thinking about adding on more spaces, or
Yeah, that's still very much in talks right now. The building itself is actually in a fairly large complex. It's There's about 12 buildings in that complex that all kind of surround a 2.5 block radius. And Unfortunately, one of them was heavily damaged in the fires this summer. But we're still looking at expanding and potential and possibility and what will happen, because we've been full since we opened, and we're full in the middle of a pandemic, because people want to be creative and they
right.
want to make music. And
Right.
it's one of the things that we can do that it's pretty safe, getting together with the 3, 4, 5, 6 people pretty well,
Yeah.
week in and week out. So people still want to do it, and I'm hoping I can add more space. It just depends on finding the right situation where everybody wins again.
Sure.
You know.
Now is it has everybody been playing it safe with keeping masks on in the main hallways and everything?
Oh, dude, I'm a dick when it comes to that. It's
You have to be these days, man. You
yeah,
really honestly
yeah,
have to be.
yeah. Most people are, and I shouldn't say most people. Everybody's been really good about there's very very few people, that have really kind of, pitched a stink about it, if you will.
Sure.
But it's just one of those things where, especially when everything kind of started, I'm going, when we actually opened up, I'd have to remind people, hey, you're in the common area, wear a mask, blah blah blah. And I've seen some people get fairly creative when when they forget a mask in their car or something silly, and they have to run back out, and they run into me in the hallway. They're like, "Oh crap, I left my mask in the car," or whatever it was.
I think
But
it's the new ritual these days, and I see it all
Yeah,
the time because I drive and I'll pull up to a gas station, and I wear a gaiter, so I have it around my neck at all times. You know what I mean? So I never take it off
yeah,
during the day at all. And anywhere
right.
I get around people, I pop that sucker up. But it's like the ritual. You see people will get out of their car and they'll be 3/4 of the way to the door, and they'll go, "Oh shit!" They'll turn back around and go back for their mask.
Yeah, it used to be like, I always kind of joked where it's like, if my glasses aren't stuck to my eyes like they are right now, I'd have my little checklist. It's like, I got my keys, I got my cell phone, I got my wallet, I got my glasses, and now
Yep.
it's like, oh, do I have my mask? It's
Yep.
just added to that list.
Yep. For sure.
And it's probably going to be that way for a little while. It's hopefully, if everybody just plays ball and tries to take care of each other, it's shorter than it would be otherwise.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pontificate on that particular topic, but
Yeah.
I want to go play shows again, and I want to go see shows again. So,
So
hoping that
have you
hoping
noticed
that-
in your studios, have you noticed like a lot of bands that are in your studio spaces producing more music? Are they being creative? Are people really like getting ready to crank out some shit? Because I feel like it's a powder keg. Like people are so ready to just they're ready to just let their music go.
Yeah, it's really great. It's like, I think about, there's two bands that come to mind right away, and one of them is the band Blackbird Bridge,
Yeah.
and then the other one is Cymothwa, and both those bands are there all the time.
Yeah.
And it's Blackbird. I know when they're there because they're just loud as piss,
Yeah.
and Cymothwa is literally the door right next to my studio, so it's pretty hard to miss when they're there.
Justin said in the chat here, he said,
Yeah.
first he said two of my favorite local boners. He called us boners. And then he said, nicest practice studio in the cities, best bathrooms to poop in as well.
Yeah, yeah. The joke of the bathrooms is literally the bathrooms are way too nice. They're
Yeah.
they're like far too nice for a bunch of like dirty metal people.
Yeah, right.
It's just hilarious to me, like when we got the plans and they're laying out the bathroom, and I'm sitting here going like, okay, wait a second, you're talking about multiple bathrooms with multiple stalls and multiple sinks.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, right.
Just like the goofy, the just by what people are used to, and that kind of thing. And nobody's above anything or anything
Sure,
like that. It's like,
sure.
at the end of the day, as long as it works, who cares?
Right.
But it's really kind of funny. People always comment on how nice the bathrooms are.
Justin in all capital letters says the best bathrooms. James Schmidt said new building. It is super dope. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've got a lot of cool people down there hanging out all the time.
Yeah. It's a good group of people, and we've had quite a few people through the studio too. It's Fix a Glitch was just in last week's Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. So I mean, they got to see it. They don't rent there. Maybe they will eventually, but they got to utilize the studio. So we'll have some videos from them here popping up soon.
Awesome.
So.
And speaking of that, I mean, you've so I ran into David Rabin, and you guys were talking about doing like a co-op photography studio in that building as well, correct?
Yeah, that's kind of on the short list of things that may happen if we expand.
Sure.
The big thing is, if we expand, I'd like to have an on-site video photography studio, because if we expand again, then we're talking about an additional 20 rooms, and then the likelihood of that having 20 more spaces full right out of the gates. It's a little bit smaller this time. I'm a little more realistic, right? But maybe I'm wrong, but I'd want to kind of dedicate one room to video and photography.
Sure.
If we do expand again for that reason. I mean, Dave's got a really wonderful home studio, but Dave's got a key card to the joint too. He's there quite a bit with
Right.
me, doing video with people, and and hanging out and doing stuff with other bands at the space.
So tell me
Figured it was
about
time to just give it a key.
tell everybody about that kind of stuff. Now, David mentioned that you guys are doing some professional video and audio stuff. You're recording
Yeah.
a couple songs for folks, and then allowing them to take it and use it as they will.
Yeah, so I got to give credit where credit's due. This was definitely Dave's push. This was Dave's kind of really kind of spearheading the whole thing.
Okay.
And I've really got to give credit to him for kind of really kind of pushing the idea, because he came to me, and this is like midway through summer. He came to me, and it's like everyone's talking, oh, maybe shows will be back open in December, at that time. And I remember Dave and me looked at each other and went, anybody who thinks that a show is happening anytime in 2020, let alone if we're lucky early 2021, is just not paying attention to what's going on. And so he came to me and he goes, there's got to be something we can do. And that's how the conversation started. Is he goes, there's got to be something that we can do, meaning him and I. And I'm like, great, let's figure it out. So the idea was to basically go, okay, can we do a live stream and figure out if we can do like some sort of a 1459 live stream, or whatever branding we give to it. And it just kind of go, well, here's the logistics of doing a live stream from an audio standpoint. And I'm going through all that aspect of going, I have to feed it into my board. Then we have to feed it out to the video, blah, blah, blah. Started talking about kind of the logistics of that. And we kind of just said, wow, that's going to be really complicated. And my biggest thing is I said, all the live streams that I've seen. And I mean, I gotta give it to these people that are doing it. It's like the Garage, like doing the live streams and things like that, and the Hook and Ladder doing the live streams. It's like I've really gotta give it to those venues for figuring out how to keep people being creative and keep people moving, because that was the whole spirit of this idea too.
Right.
So what I'm about to say, I definitely don't want to shit on those fine folks. They're wonderful. But the biggest thing that I kind of noticed with seeing the live stream stuff start, unless you were like a Code Orange or a band of that caliber, you were getting one video angle and your audio wasn't necessarily great. And me being the audiophile of the recording nerd that I am, is I'm going, man, what can we do to try and make the audio experience better for listeners, viewers? What can we do to try and make the video experience better for listeners and viewers? And that's kind of how everything started. Is we said, well, why don't we treat it like it's a live stream that isn't live? And I was like, come again? And he goes, well, what if we did the audio and we mixed it, like we took, a week or 2 weeks to like mix it and make it sound really good. I mean, still it's live audio, but make it sound really good.
Right.
And then I bring in like 5 to 6 cameras and we do a multi-angle shot while this music is being performed. And I was like, that's a great idea. How the hell are we going to do that? And the whole thing was, at the end of the day, it's Dave is semi-retired, so he's doing like video and photography to basically pay his bills.
Sure.
The studio is a gigantic source of my income, so I have to be able to pay my bills. But our biggest thing is we want to make this really doable and affordable for musicians, because musicians are struggling too, So we basically just thought about it. We're going, and we basically just put a price point on it that we thought was just astronomically cheap. Like what band wouldn't want to do it? And that's kind of how we set the price for it.
Okay.
Is we basically just said 3 songs, $250, full video, full audio.
And that's multiple angles. That's what, four angles, right?
Yeah, 4 to 5 angles depending on the band, and mixed audio too. So some bands might want to take advantage of this just for the content aspect of, like, we just need stuff for YouTube or for our socials or whatever. Some bands might want to take advantage of it to have audio for Bandcamp Fridays. Some bands might want to take advantage of it for putting out new music. Some bands might want to take advantage of it for doing a demo because they couldn't afford to do a proper demo before.
Right.
Whatever it may be. And that was kind of the whole push, was to go, we're going to put it at a price that just kind of makes sense. Both of us basically make enough to pay our overhead for the day,
Right.
and that's the whole thing,
Sure.
and that's it.
That's
And I
that's
just,
fantastic, man.
yeah, yeah. So, and it was very much Dave's push, and I've really got to say that, and I've really got to be fair to it. It was really him kind of pushing me with him in kind of the idea. We just got there together and said, okay, let's make this actually work. I'm hoping post COVID we can continue it in some fashion. And I'll end up investing in like a mobile rig, and we'll go rent a warehouse or something like
Sure.
that, and do that kind of thing. But right now it's just trying to just keep it in house, and keep it at the studio and that kind of thing, and have it be fairly intimate. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But right now the goal is just to try and help people be creative.
Sure.
That's it.
That's fantastic, man. I actually shared the Impaler one that you guys did, and
Yep.
those were fantastic angles. Nice, good switch between those. You mean Dave's a professional, man. He really
Yep. Very
made
much.
that look fantastic, and it sounded great. It sounded very well compressed, real good sound. What was the first band that you guys did? It was kind of a something Joy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Trading Faces was doing their
Okay,
song
that's what it
"Oh
was.
Joy,"
Okay.
and Trading Faces is a fantastic rock and roll band.
Yep.
And they were a band that had not come across, my repertoire, and Dave brought them in, and I'm just like, these guys are incredible, just
Yeah.
a great band.
Yeah, that was the first video that I had seen, and I talked to Dave because Dave came by and picked up a tie dye from me, and we sat and chatted
Mhm.
about this, and I'd heard just a little bit about it, and as soon as it was dropped, I thought it was a fantastic idea. It was like, why wouldn't bands want to take advantage of this? You're getting fantastic sound, you're getting great camera angles, you're getting a great look, and it, like you said, it's a very small room. It's nice and intimate, nice, good spot. When I saw it, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I saw in imagination, and I was like, man, I don't know for that price, man, for three songs that sound that good, dude, it's a steal. It really is, man. I really
Yeah.
honestly hope
Uh,
people take more advantage of that. Bands that you know are working on new stuff, guys like Beastface and Cymothwa, and you know what I mean. Those bands that I love, Trita and fuck, there's so many out there, man. But that would be a great thing right now, especially because we can't have live shows, we can't have groups of people, us together. But we're dying for that new music to come out. We're dying to hear that new stuff. We're dying to see those faces, man. I'm dying for a high five and a hug, man. I've seen probably 30 people this whole time. You know what I mean? So
yep.
it's tough. I hope people take advantage of that.
I hope they do too. And it's like I try not to be, I'm always like really worried about coming across the wrong way of like, it's like I don't want to sound like a smarmy sales guy. It's it's not really my thing. It's like uh, I'm really fortunate with the studio that I really don't have to. I'm really lucky. I don't have to advertise. It's you know the the big thing with my advertising is bands tell other bands, and then bands tell other bands, and then bands tell other bands. That's pretty much what happens to me. And that's great. So I don't really have to sales pitch too much, and that's nice. So I'm always worried about whenever I do something new like this that it's going to feel like it's a sales pitch. It's not. It's just going, hey, here's the thing we're doing. If you want to do it, great. If you don't, more power to you. We'll
Sure.
move on.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's the biggest thing that the biggest thing as a creative person is to be creative where you feel comfortable. And if people want to record with me, great. If they want to record somewhere else, great. Make music. That's the whole point.
Right.
And that's the whole push. Is I really hope that people take advantage of this thing. I think we needed to get a couple videos going before people really kind of got the vibe of it and got the gist of it. It seems like I'm getting a lot more interest in the last like 2 weeks than I have, since we kind of started talking about the idea like 3 months ago.
Okay.
Because our first one was our first one was in January, and we started kind of advertising it in October, and just kind of say, hey, we're looking at doing this idea. Who's interested in Trading Faces was on board immediately. They had the idea, and they're like, yeah, we want to do this for sure. They actually have we have two more songs that we're going to put out for them. They're putting out one at a time, and then we have another session booked for them this month or next month where they're going to do it again.
Nice.
But they were on board with it right away. It just was with the holidays, we all decided to wait and that kind of thing, and just kind of start up in January. So I'm hoping as more of them come out, more bands and more musicians take advantage of it, because it doesn't just have to be bands. It's like if you have a solo artist who's an acoustic solo artist, or dude, we're totally down to do that too. It's like the studio is known as a metal studio, but I record rock and roll. I record punk rock.
Right.
I've recorded plenty of acoustic stuff. My friend Matt from Devil Dodger is like this dark country artist. I record him every once in a while. So it's like, if it's got a guitar, I'll record it.
Right. Right.
Or a banjo. I'll make an exception for a banjo.
So I've got. Let me see here. It seems like. Let me see here. So with the Zoom stuff, I've this is my first like real Zoom interview with this whole thing, and it looks like it's gonna end in like a couple minutes or some shit. I don't know how that works. I think you have to have some sort of you've got to be a member of something or something like that. We've got let me see, we've got 10 people in the chat. People are saying so cool. Dave's the boss, he says. So I don't know. You might have to like rejoin or something, Will, if we get cut off here somehow. I don't know how. We'll go in 40 minute increments.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or something like that. But dude, I'm so stoked for you guys to do this, and I hopefully people see this video and actually, take into account like, hey man, we haven't done anything. We haven't, we have all this brand new material. We haven't recorded it yet. We get fantastic sound. We get fantastic video, multiple angles, and they take advantage of it. And it should sell itself, man. If we're not able to go to shows, we should be able to enjoy it online, man. People should be able to enjoy the music. And like I said, there are so many good bands. How many bands do we know? Can you think of any bands that have broken up since this whole COVID thing?
There's been a few, but most of the bands are sticking to it. I mean, yeah, some bands are taking breaks, which is totally understandable. And a lot of bands took fairly lengthy breaks. I mean, one of my own bands, Plague of Stars, is like, we haven't all five of us been in the same room together since I want to say like August or September.
Right.
But yeah, we managed to record 3 songs, oddly enough, in that time. And hopefully we're going to start rehearsing again here soon, but that's another discussion. But the whole thing too is like, with doing this whole idea, is it gives people a reason to get together. It gives people a reason to be creative and get in a room together, whatever that means. That's the whole thing, is if we're not preparing, if musicians aren't preparing to do something, that's when bands end. Is because sometimes it's just easier to just let things just, wither away than it is to try and pick up the pieces.
Sure.
It's a lot more effort to keep things going, especially with, there's a lot of mental anguish going on out there too. It's not just the physical thing, and we've all lost incredibly too many people, to their own hand during this whole thing. So it's not just it's not just a health concern, it's the mental concern too. And, music is, I always said nobody comes to music on a winning streak.
Right.
It's people come to music because they need the outlet. They need to understand they're not the only fucked up individual, on the planet. So I credit music for saving my life numerous times. And I can definitely say that to other people I know as well. So if this stupid little fucking thing keeps people picking up a guitar and hanging out with their friends and having a positive outlook, that wins beyond anything else.
Absolutely, man.
And that's and I know it sounds really like bigger than me and everything like that, but I really truly feel that way. And I look forward to having band practice on Sundays. I look forward to that because I see my wife, who I love, and I see my band, and that's it.
Yeah, for sure. And
So
you get to see the bands coming in and out of your studio,
yeah,
somewhat. I know that when we talked about doing this and coming into the studio here to have
yeah,
you to come in, you were like, yeah, you had just had some medical stuff done and just didn't want to take the chance. What I totally appreciate and totally understand. I myself got COVID and it was horrible, and I wouldn't
yeah.
wouldn't want to put anyone in any type of danger at all for just to have an interview that we could do over the phone or via chat. So I appreciate it, dude. And I man, it's so what are you working on musically? What bands have been coming through the studio? Who have you been recording?
So the last couple of weeks have been the last like couple of months have been pretty crazy. I've got and it's really strange because it's we're in the nice thing about the studio is it's a 4-room studio, so we can literally be like a room and walls apart, which is pretty great. Studio recording is one of the healthiest things you can really do during this situation because you're literally in different rooms most of the
Right.
time. So that's pretty great. Let's see. I'm recording the rock band Good Bones. Their album comes out in March.
What type of
Um,
just like a standard rock and roll band?
yeah, it's kind of like alternative. It's like alternative rock and roll, kind of '90s throwback stuff. I'm like it feels like Alice in Chainsy, Stone Temple Pilots, that kind of stuff. It's really good. I'm a big fan of that stuff. I'm a child of the '90s,
Yeah, me
so
too, dude.
I love all that stuff. Great group. They're from St. Cloud. They've been coming down, finishing their album. Live sets we just did in Paler. We did Fix the Glitch. Krog is coming in tomorrow to do a live set. Cymoth will be in this week to start their next album. So we've got that going on. Trying to remember all the Plague of Stars, my own band has been in. Coffin Rights, my other band, is finishing our full length album right now. Man, it's just been a lot of stuff. A lot
So
of stuff.
like let's back up a second.
Yeah.
So what made you guys have to change your name with Coffin Rights?
Oh, great question. Yeah, when we used to be called Coffin Rot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a band. Well, there is a band in Portland, Oregon, who's great, by the way. We've had many conversations with them. They're wonderful people. We coexisted together, and we had no idea the other one really existed until like we started traveling and they started being a band again. Like they took a fairly lengthy hiatus,
Sure.
put out a demo and did nothing for like 4 years, and then we were gallivanting across the Midwest, and whoever was dumb enough to let us play on their stage, and and we kind of became aware of it, as we were going out there when venues started going, like sharing music that wasn't ours, and then sharing music that for them that wasn't theirs. Because if you looked up coffin rot one word or coffin rot two words,
It would
you weren't necessarily super. Yeah,
yeah,
you
intersect.
would do that whole thing. So we were kind of just laughing about it for a while. Just going like whatever. It's like, and so we joke like, well, whichever one of us gets signed wins. And that was the joke, right? Well, they did. So they won.
Wow.
And so as soon as they got their as soon as they got a record, albeit it's a small record contract. No record contracts make anybody rich anymore.
Right.
But nonetheless, we thought it was appropriate at that point to probably change the name and
Sure.
and go from there. We tried to keep a lot of it. We tried to keep the logo looking really similar, and we tried to think of like every iteration of Coffin something or something rot to try and have some continuity. We came up with some really dumb names.
Give us a
But
couple. Come on, you gotta have a couple at least.
Drew is gonna hate me, but I'm totally gonna pick the worst one. So Drew, our singer, was just like he came to practice, and he's just beaming. He goes, "I have the name, man. I have the name." Super excited about it, and the name is fucking stupid. Yeah, it was Coffin Fodder was the name, and I'm like, that name does. I'm like, if you know the meaning behind it, it totally makes sense because it's like offerings that people put into coffins and shit when people die. It's
Yeah.
kind of creepy, kind of grotesque, but I'm like, but it just doesn't sound cool. It just sounds lame. And like I think he was legitimately like pissed at me for like 2 weeks because I'm just sitting here. This name is stupid, and I just pissed all over his dream.
Yeah.
You know, um, and yeah. So I don't know who came up with coffin rights. I really don't care, but it was just like it felt like it was just time to just rebrand at that point. And then the coffin rot guys out from Portland are all good dudes, and I highly recommend checking out their band. They're very good.
I think you should bring them here when it's time again.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about like doing shows together.
Yeah.
We talked about doing shows together when we had the same name and like make it really fucking uncomfortable
Yeah.
for everybody
Yeah,
else except
yeah.
for us who thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like we go, we're coffin rot, and they're like, we're coffin rot, that kind of thing. So yeah, we had to change the name based out of just necessity. And I know there's like I think of like Arcona, like there's Arcona from Russia, and then there's Arcona from Poland, So there's definitely bands out there with the same name, that are that still have great music and great careers regardless of that whole thing. But we're just like, oh, let's just not make this confusing. Let's just move forward.
Right. Which is super cool, man. When you realize that you are sharing a name with someone and they turn out to be really cool. I'm sure that was kind of a relief because you're like, oh man, here we go. We're gonna end up, having to do something, or they're gonna do, you know what I mean? Send us a cease and desist or whatever,
Yeah, it's like which one of us is gonna like be dumb enough to actually go hire a lawyer and like cease and desist the other one.
Right.
It's like the only people who win in that situation are the lawyers. So let's just keep them out of it.
Right. Which makes sense because they're just taking all the money anyway.
Yeah. It's just like whatever. Yeah.
So what are you personally working on? What have you have any projects going right now?
Yeah, the great thing is I'm really excited because the Coffin Rights album has been in various stages of completion slowly since August of last year. We've been working on it pretty slowly over the last couple months. So yeah, I had some medical issues that I had to deal with and all that. But and then our guitar player Eric, our longtime guitar player, actually moved out to California. So obviously gave all of us gave him our blessing and so forth. It's like he made it very clear he wanted us to continue. We have a new guitar player. He's great. We will be announcing him in the next couple weeks. He's somebody that the music scene probably knows, but he's fitting in very well, and he's learning all of our new material. He's contributed some solos to the new record. He's contributed an instrumental to the new record. So
awesome.
He's going to be a part of the new record, despite a lot of it being done previous to Eric leaving. But that was kind of by design. We wanted the new person to be involved in that tryout process. Took a few months and all that. So. But yeah, he's great. We're really excited to share with him. It's it's hard not to tell people who it is because he fits in so damn well. But we're trying to be coy about it. We're trying to do it on purpose.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big announcement here real soon.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing some stuff to announce him. That will involve some new music and some new recordings and things like that. So that's kind of the big goal with his announcement. We got to do the band photo things and get the stuff ready for the socials and all that kind of stuff. So we're just getting all of our ducks in a row so we can do that.
Fantastic.
But,
Very
he's
cool.
been in the band since officially he joined the band in November. So he's been in the band for a while already, and I think he's on his last song on the new album. And next new stuff is we start working on a new song he wrote. So
very cool. Very
we're
cool.
Pretty excited to.
Now you said the Plague.
We're probably gonna start writing album 3 here.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, there's
we'll
nothing wrong with that, man. Having extra material, moving it slowly.
Yep.
So are you guys gonna actually, when you are you gonna do your own your own video stuff? Are you guys gonna do a session in your studio with the new guitar
we're
player?
gonna do the we're gonna do a video session at the studio. It's gonna be a little bit different than the ones we've done with other bands. I have the uh, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, kind of the luck of having a space right next door to the studio that has an audio snake dropped in it, so we can kind of transform our rehearsal space to be a little mini recording
There
studio.
you go.
So we're discussing how to do that right now. To be able to kind of put together like kind of a similar to the idea of the live at 1459 thing, but a little more of a live type event.
Okay.
So working through some of those logistics right now.
Sure.
So
So you may have a may have another style thing. You might be able to
yeah,
do a live
yeah,
stream, a main thing or what?
yeah. We're gonna see we're gonna see what options are available to us, and what we can do to what we can do in that space sonically as well as visually. Um, to just have another look and another facet kind of thing,
Sure.
and if that ends up working out well, then that might be something that we offer in the future, along with this whole thing. But if it works, it'll be my band being the guinea pig, and I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so if it falls flat on its face, it's my band. It's my band. And
It's your stumble, huh?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'd rather learn and have my own. I'd rather learn what works on my own dime than on
Right.
somebody else's.
Why not? Right. 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 Right.
So
So let me see here. So with the studio that you're doing your rehearsal spaces,
yeah,
what's the name of your rehearsal spaces?
the name of the space is the space.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's the a lot of bands can probably attest to this, where it's just like where you go, oh, we got to run to the space really quick, and so
Right.
we got to go grab our gear at the space, and it's just like doesn't matter if you're at like Hush or Cooler or wherever you're at. It's like it's just everything was referred to as the space. At least it has been in my vernacular, and I practiced at Cooler. That was the first place I ever was before I even moved up here. That place was fun.
Yeah, let me
Yeah,
ask you this
but
though. It just like you
yeah.
said though. How many times have people go? So where do you guys practice? Or what
Mhm.
space are you guys at? And then you have to tell them
Yeah,
we're at Cooler,
yeah,
But you never go.
yeah,
I got to get my gear from Cooler. What Cooler? Like
yeah.
why is your why why are you
Why?
cooling off your fucking your
Yeah,
stuff?
it's like what do you have like a do you have like a bunch of like you have your guitar on ice or what? It's it's
Yep, yep.
you have
My
like a
Apple
guitar
and all that
that's
stuff.
just your
Yeah,
beer,
yeah, yeah. Right next to it, right next to your beer and the whiskey.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
like Rob Carlson's place.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. It's Bud Light always tastes better with Rob. I don't know what it is, but
Right.
it's like if you're gonna, it's like for some reason if you're hanging out with Rob, it's like suddenly Budweiser tastes good. It makes no scientific sense whatsoever, but it's like you just sit there and you go to a bar and you order a Bud Light. You're like, fuck no, but you're hanging out with Rob, and all of a sudden you're just like, man, this is delicious. I don't get it. So,
Yep,
um,
that's pretty much what it is, man.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how do you feel? What do you think that what do you think people can do to kind of keep our scene going alive? What do you think would be, some good avenues for bands to start doing other than come to your studio and record some videos?
Besides doing the live thing, it's like you know and every band, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. There's bands that are releasing albums, and really pushing like digital releases right now, and releasing an album without live shows. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, some great albums got put out, like the Desolate Entity album, like got put out in the middle of the pandemic, and not enough people noticed it. It's a great record if you haven't heard it. Um, and Impaler, obviously just put out their brand new album, The Great Hereafter. And obviously they're not going to be playing any shows anytime soon, to kind of support that. Um, and then there's bands like my band, where I'm going, we're all pretty dead set on waiting to release the album until we can play a proper show. Um, and if that means that the album sits for another 6 months, we've kind of all accepted that. But that's just that's the decision that we've made. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. What I think every band needs to do right now is two things. if you're not writing new material, you are screwing yourself. You are absolutely screwing yourself because, I think about when we're doing shows and we're going, oh, we should get that video going. Oh, yeah, it's like we'll have to do that next month. We'll have to try and squeeze it in. Oh, yeah, we got this show that we're going on. It's like we should try and like do these playthrough videos that we've been talking about doing. Oh, yeah, we should schedule that. It's like right now, it's people should be really thinking outside of the box and going, what can we do to stay on people's minds? And I'll use the word stay relevant. You know, the one great thing about COVID is it's set this nice little line in the sand and it's put every band on the equal playing field,
Yep.
regardless of if you're a big band on on Metal Blade or if you're a small band that plays in your garage.
Right.
All of us are in the same boat. None of us are playing shows.
Right.
You know, unless they're like playing Trump rallies or something, I guess. Here comes the hate comments.
Right,
All right,
right.
I really accept that. I don't care. It's but the whole thing is like uh, bands should be really thinking about what they can do to stay on people's minds, and that's forcing people to get creative. Even with my studio, I'm sitting here going, fuck it, I put it off building a YouTube page for the last like 10 years. I'm going to start doing pedal reviews,
Right.
and that kind of stuff, and thinking outside of the box and figuring out ways to like keep the studio in people's minds. It's the same thing with bands is going, okay, cool. Split Life Productions, who's also in my building, they're doing playthrough videos with bands. So look them up. They're great too. Split Life Productions. They've got some stuff on YouTube. They do a lot of video gamer type stuff right now, but he's done some playthrough videos at the studio and in his own space as well. So that would be something you could do. You can make a music video with Dave or with Split Life or with Austin or any of the cats that, or with Al, any of the guys that do that kind of stuff, right? Make a music video. You've been putting it off. All of us have, write music, write a bunch of music. If your band doesn't come out of this thing with a new album's worth of material,
At least one.
at least one, yeah, you're missing the boat. You're missing the boat. I'm sitting here going, in the next like 6 months, in the next 6 months, I want to record a new Plague of Stars album. I want to finish writing that. I want to record the Chalice of Suffering record, another Chalice of Suffering record, with John and Aaron and Neil. And I've already written, tons of songs for that. It's just waiting to find time to do it. I want to do another Wolf Harvester album, which is just my solo ambient junk that I do for fun. I want to do another one of those. I'm like, I want to do an Insect Death record, and which is my grindcore band. I'm like, it's like, look, I'm trying to figure out ways that I can keep myself motivated. And thankfully the hobby that I love to do is fairly solitary, so I can play guitar in my room by myself and be creative and do that. We're really fortunate as musicians to do that. So I mean, just take the time to just do something. And if you're just sitting around waiting for an invitation, it ain't gonna happen. It's nothing's. It's like that never was different before COVID. It was always like if you want to work, you're gonna work. If you don't want to work, you're not gonna work. And some people say music is inspirational. Some people say music is hard work. I think it's a little bit of both. You're inspired to work, or you work because you're inspired. Whatever way you want to look at it.
I honestly think that with the past political environment, you know what I mean, and the
Yep.
COVID, and being separated from your friends, being separated from our music scene, and the love of all the music and all the bands that we have in this town, you know what I mean, being separated from all of that should inspire creativity, should
Yep.
inspire to have you. I mean, guns loaded, all barrels, full on, man, ready to go. Again, like you said, stay relevant in people's mind. You know what I mean? Make a music video, write some music, release a single, release. You know what I mean? Before this thing all went down, there were bands, in my opinion, doing that so much, just releasing a single every few months. You know what I mean? Bands that come to mind from that would be, damn it, I can't think of who it is. I can't think of Jared Buto's band. Why is that? Damn it,
Oh,
Royals.
Royals.
Yep, Royals. Those cats
I'm
were
like, which one of Jared's bands?
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is they were releasing singles. You know what I'm saying? You were staying in people's mind all the time. You're doing lyric videos. You're mixing it up. And even if you release an album in the middle of COVID, if you stay relevant, I mean, look at Andy Altman, man. He is started a YouTube. I didn't even know about it until I started doing my podcast again. It was like I look on his YouTube channel and he's got 800 subscribers. No, to me, all of that stuff. I've been doing this podcast, on and off for 9 years. Okay, taking a little bit of a break to kind of regather myself. I see more people popping up with these podcasts, and it's amazing to me. It's so fantastic to see people being productive and like trying to get their voices out there, their opinions out there. To me, it's just amazing. And as a musician, like you said, you have to stay relevant. You have to stay active. You have to, as a musician, and this is where I think personally I failed in a lot of things with my bands, is that I didn't have the time to stop and, hone my craft, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you get a show, you release your album, you get a show, you get another show, you get another show. You're playing and practicing for that next show. You're not playing and practicing to write a new album. You get caught up in that rat race, and it's just a cycle that continues and continues and continues. Unless you take the time to step back and go, all right, we're going to stop playing shows. We're going to just focus on writing material. We're going to stay away from everyone. All right, we came up with a new logo. You drop it out there. You put some, hey, how's it going on Facebooks or all your socials and doing all that stuff. Drop a playthrough video, like you said, of maybe some older tunes. But keeping content coming out to people, and I think it's super important, especially right now. This is why I chose to do the Facebook Live thing, to be more, in people. People can see it instead of, and I'm going to be releasing the audio as well on, just on the regular podcast format that I've been doing forever. But I think that it's important for us to see each other, for us to know that we're still out here doing well. We're still care about each other. We still want this music scene to do better. I love hearing that people are still together. Their band's working on material. With taking a break from doing the podcast, it's like you kind of lose track of everybody, and you wonder how everybody's doing. And when I saw Dave Verbeen when he came by, it was such a breath of fresh air, man, to see him, to hear that you guys are doing something cool. Before I moved into this studio, dude, you've always been super good to me as a person, just, being a friend and always having an ear. You and I have had some fantastic conversations about the music scene, about the music business. And, when I hear something like that, like, Will and I are doing this video thing, it sounds fantastic, you know what I mean? And he's laying it out for me, and I'm going, damn, that is so cool. That's a great idea. Right now is the perfect time for bands to take charge of that, to grab a hold of it and say, we need to release something. We need people to see us having a good time, to lift other people's spirits, man, to maybe go, oh shit, they just released a badass video at 1459. If that is what they're recording right now, if that's what they're doing and creating right now, call your guys up and go, all right, dude, these guys just put down a massive track at live at 1459. We need to step our game up and start creating right now. I've always used other bands as
competition.
Yeah, man, positive competition. You know what I mean? It's not like, screw them or, fuck that band or whatever. It's like, all right, man, it's like being on stage. And this is how I've explained it for people who have never played a show before. Will and I and other bands around town, we find a bill of bands that are either similar or completely opposite, just so everybody can have a taste of a little bit of this and a little bit of that throughout the scene, right? So when you have a variety like that, you appeal to so many other people. When people come there and they're on the fringe of something really heavy or maybe more melodic, and Will puts a show together with 3 fantastic bands, you may come to see one of Will's bands and fall in love with the other 2. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I've always been like, standing there like, oh, I'm going to play second. Here's the first band. And that first band comes on and they just blow the doors off of everybody. And you go back down to the green room and you look at your guys and you go, we got to step it up tonight. We got to really put it through the fucking roof tonight. And they go, okay. And you go, hear that energy of all those people cheering up there for that first band? That means we're number 2, and there's a set of guys after us that are ready to lay it down too, and they're watching that first band. If you don't come bringing your shit right now, you know what I mean? You're just like, huh? You know what I mean? You're the guy, you're the band that people go, what was that second band playing? You know what I mean? You just kind of like, I have always used that as an inspiration. So I think, doing the videos and doing everything, man, I agree with you 100%. It's just so important to keep relevant and to keep yourself working and be positive and creative, especially in this time,
Yeah, I'm like, it's like one of the things that I've done personally for years is always like done multiple projects, and admittedly, I only really have 2 active bands. It's like the other 3 things I do are, Chalice of Suffering is basically a studio project, and then the other 2 projects are solo projects, so that's really easy. But the whole thing is like, the more you can get involved musically across all these different genres and everything too, whether it be rock and roll or punk or death metal or whatever, it's just going to make you a better musician, and it's just going to make you have an appreciation for other things out there. I think it's one of the reasons that Coffin Rights has done so many. We've done 2 punk rock covers now. We did a Misfits song like a couple Halloweens ago, and then we just did the Nazi Punks Fuck Off cover. Yes, on purpose, very relevant timing, which we recorded we recorded that in August. But we decided to, and we did the Refuse Resist one too. We just decided that we were going to do songs that said something to us, and when we were youths, and basically just said, let's continue to, these songs are like, the Dead Kennedy song was what, like 82, 83, I want to say.
Long time ago.
That song's like, yeah, that song is just as relevant today as it was when it came out. And it's like, same thing with Refuse Resist. That was 88 or 89 too. Same thing. 20-year-old song still says a lot. And that's the whole thing is we always love the energy. We always kind of say we're a bunch of punk rock kids that are like driving around as a death metal band. It's Tom's a punk rock drummer. I grew up playing punk rock.
Yep. Drew too, right? Drew hangs out with a lot of punk rockers, but Drew's all about that shit. I get that vibe from you guys when I see you guys play. To me, it's like that Verge, metal punk rock fusion type of thing. To me, when I see it, it's just that raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was always kind of one of the fun things about our band is we always I never. It's like I love We Are Legion, love that band always, and I love all those guys. But when I sit there and I talk about like the Cro-Mags or something, it's like other than Neil, it's like people would go like, eh, they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, nah, dude, MXPX and like dumb shit like that, and they're like, what? I'm like, god damn it, guys, come on, So I'm just like, but it's like we all love our thing too. It's like I'm huge into black metal and all that kind of thing too, and then I love Pearl Jam, which is apparently not cool to like Pearl Jam. It's like, whatever. I like music. I don't care.
Right? Yeah, me too, man. I love all types of music. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's joined us in the chat room. I'm sorry, with the other podcasts and things that I've done, I've had the guest in the room with me, and we're able to look at the chat. So I apologize for not saying what's happening to you guys. I know Tony Lent has joined us. Justin has joined us as well. Both. Tony he's in Common Choir now, right? And Justin is in Cymothwa.
They just recorded the studio too.
Awesome. Yeah, Tony Garfield's in the room.
There's more than I'm forgetting.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Garf? Mike Johnston is in the room here. Let me see here. Tony. Jace Burr said, both my dads up in this chat. Very, very cool. I appreciate it. If you guys have
Jace has more gray hair than I do now.
Right? Yeah. Tony Garfield says Pearl Jam used to be called Mookie Blaylock.
That's true. That's such a true story.
If anybody in the chat has any questions for Will, just shoot them in there and I will ask him. What's up, Josh?
It's been too long.
Yeah, yes, it has. Man, it just feels it's so great when you can chat with people while you're doing this too, man. It's very cool. Dude,
Yeah.
it's so good to see your face, man. It's always refreshing to talk to you, man, and you always have a nice clear perspective on how things should be taken care of. And I really appreciate do that. You always have good positive reinforcement for people around you. You know what I mean? You're not just out doing this for you and to push your bands way ahead of everyone. You do in this scene what I try to do with this podcast. You know what I mean? You do your studio stuff. You help people get their stuff professionally recorded. You get you and now you help people get videos with Dave Rabin, and I find that live at 1459. I can't push this enough, dude, because I really want to see more people take advantage of this. 3 songs with multiple camera angles, professional sound, recorded, ready for your yeah, for the band to put it out there for everyone to see. Now, people, we've been in this pandemic for a year now, okay? We miss seeing you guys play live. Will is offering a service live at 1459 that I think that you guys should take advantage of. I think that you should go down there, you should record a few songs, be it brand new, be it old stuff, anything. Go out there, throw down, record those songs, release it out into the world, man. Let it out into the wild, let it free, man. Because I'm dying. Honestly, I'm dying to see some good music and to see my friends out there having a great time, throwing down, doing what I'm not doing right now. I'm not playing in a band right now, which is it hurts, man, because I know that there's so much pent up energy and creativity out there, and I
Can I just say, just do it again, Greg?
yeah.
We miss you.
Yeah, man.
Just do
I
it.
want to. I really, really do, man. I feel like I feel like it's you know. Again, though, I've said this to people, with the podcast and everything, as of recently, Jared Singer's extravaganza. I went on there and I did that. He asked me to come on, and it was like, do I do this? Do I jump back into it? And I was kind of buying gear to to come back and do it and do the podcast stuff.
Yeah.
With again with the losing the loss of Lee's, and I go back to this multiple times throughout the last couple years because it was something that I really put a lot of time into, and I felt like we did a lot of great stuff, and a lot of people were making connections, and a lot of, you know what I mean. I felt like it was a pipeline for everybody to come. Everybody was safe at these shows. I mean, I felt like we had a family there, man. When somebody showed up, we all respected each other. Everybody, there was no bullshit. I don't think I ever saw a fight at Lee's. I don't think there was shit down the block, but there was
Yeah.
never, anything at Lee's. But after Lee's was gone, it really took a toll on me. And beyond that, it's like, it stressed me out so much with my own creativity, dude. We had 5 songs ready to go. We were ready to record an EP, and it was like I was so stressed out about all of it, man. And then you throw everyone fighting about politics, and everything you see is so negative and so like you couldn't voice your own opinion because someone would attack you about that. And then the riots happened and George Floyd happens and the COVID thing happens, and now you just get
Been a tough
lost.
year.
Yeah, man, you get lost in the shuffle. And like you said in the very beginning of all of this, we lost so many good people this year, man. Last year, 2020 was a motherfucker for people in our music scene, in our families. I mean, not only this COVID bullshit, but so much other stuff. People getting so down and so like disconnected from everything, man, and so much suicide, man, and so much bullshit going on. Like I personally didn't feel like I was gonna anything that I said on this podcast. I mean, I did, and I'll say this: I did a podcast with Tracy from Promodol, and I loved watching him do his videos on his masks and seeing him create. And when he came to do the podcast, we sat down and it went really good for a little while. And then all of a sudden, got on this tangent about people who were messing with me during this whole cancel culture shit, and how it really attacked our music scene, and how, people suffered from this thing. I mean, there was a lot of good people that were called out for things that they had done years and years and years ago. You know what I'm saying? My own my own face ended up on Facebook with my mugshot from shit that I did 16 to 20 years ago, man, things about Don Decker, you know what I mean? And I found myself in the middle of an interview with a friend of mine going on this 45-minute to an hour rant about people who were fucking with me personally, man. And I didn't release that podcast because I felt ashamed that I was here to showcase my friend's, work and what he was doing. And right at that point, man, I basically was like, I don't know if I'm ready to go back to the podcast yet.
Yeah, and it's understandable. I'm like, you know, there, there's so many things going on, and it's like, it was like the powder keg, right? Of all the things that were going on this summer. It was the political nature of things, and I will absolutely say what the Minneapolis police did was absolutely 100% wrong, and I'm not going to defend that in any situation. It's it was the perfect powder keg for everything to go wrong. People were stuck in their houses. People were, sick of bullshit. People were on their political high horse,
Oh man.
whatever it may be. It just was every possible thing that could be in place for the worst of humanity to come out, all came out, all in the span of 2020.
Gangbusters,
And
man. Gangbusters. It
yeah,
came out like
yep,
like it was just pouring negativity on all of us, man.
yeah,
It was so horrible.
yeah, it was just disgusting. And it's like to try and stay positive, and let alone try and stay human, and like I say to people all the time, I'm like, there's a lot of good people who I respect who have very different political views than I do, and that will always be the case. I'm going to disagree with people over politics. I'm like, how many, how much finances should go into the referendum of school district 7. Cool, we might disagree on that particular topic. The only thing I'm not going to let stand by is like people disagreeing over hate. That's not politics. And that's where the thing that people have kind of lost track of that in the social media world. They've lost track of what's political and what's human.
Right.
And that's all I'll say on the matter, because I don't want to get political,
Sure.
and I don't want to get that way. But it's like the whole thing is like, look, we can disagree over politics, but we can't disagree over being humans. We can't just jump down people's throat because it's easier to say something on a keyboard. I've had two rules in my internet life. One, I'm never going to say anything that I wouldn't say to somebody's face with a keyboard. I'll say something to you in person. If I'll say something to you in person, I won't say it to you on a keyboard. I refuse to do that. The other thing is I just don't want to ever get negative in general. It's too easy, and it's been way too frequent. So I can level with you as a human being, and how you were feeling on that podcast with Tracy. There were so many times that I've wanted to unload on people, and so many times that I've wanted to just pitch a bitch and just basically go, hey, this sucks. That's very normal, and that's very human. The difference is being able to actually step back and pause and look at the situation and make the judgment before it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that it's once it's out on the internet, guess what? It's there, and it'll be there forever, and somebody will find it, and it will be held against you later, because people like to do that kind of stuff. You and I talked about when the whole mugshot thing happened, right? I'm sitting here going like, man, if anybody can find my mugshot from when I was, underage, then they didn't delete it like they said they did. But it's just like, yeah, people who know me now and they hear about my past and things like that, and they're just like, what, you did that? I'm like, yep. That was me for sure, and
Yeah.
but the point of that discussion is like, look, we can all learn from each other. We can all grow. We can all adapt. We can all change, but we have to be able to do it together.
Yeah.
And that's the only way things are going to get better is if we actually try and make the effort to do something together.
Sure. I agree with you. I agree
And
with you.
I've believed in that in a long time. And, you know, we can disagree on politics. It's cool. We're not going to disagree on the hateful shit. I'm
Yeah,
not putting
that's
up with
true.
that.
There's no room for it, man. The life is too short. You know what I mean? There's too much of it in the world right now, man. And if you can't just be a human, let me use this as an example. I work with a guy who's 19. He's a young kid, and had an incident in the last couple days about someone hearing some stuff about him and actually told him to kill himself. Okay, to me, I just
That's
looked at him and I was like, "What the fuck? What kind of people do you associate with, man?" I'm like, I would never in my life think about saying that to somebody I considered a friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you gonna say that to someone to just, you know what I mean? Like, it blows my mind, man. I would never say that to someone. Like, go hurt yourself over something trivial, something stupid. Man, it is so, life is way too short to be in a negative space all the time, man. I'm to the point right now, man. I just turned 48 in December, and I don't have time for that shit, man. And I think it took me this long, a couple years to like just smooth myself out, man. I went kayaking, I went motorcycling, I did all kinds of shit this last summer and stayed away from everything, man, and just tried to like clear my mind to be able to come back and be positive again. And that's
Yeah.
that's all I want to do, man. Somebody did actually ask a question. Question for Greg and Will for some positivity. What are some of your favorite musical releases of 2020, Will?
Oh boy. Oh man. Very much on the spot on this one. Um,
Feel free to look
I
it up.
had,
I know you got a computer in the room too.
yeah, yeah. I'm totally going to. It's the I always do my best of list, but it's like I'm that guy who still goes to the record store every Friday,
Right.
and I lose track of I lose track of I lose track of the empirical constituencies of when the Earth started around the sun and when it didn't. So
Right.
trying to go like, oh yeah, that was last year. Oh yeah, that was last year. So I'm actually going to look some of these. I'm going to look some of these up here really quick because there was a lot of really good stuff last year.
Bowser
Um,
Bowser says he really enjoyed the Anvil, the new Havoc, and Annihilator, and he also said that the new Vader is dope too. I appreciate
yeah,
that, man.
yeah. Vader had two really good releases, EP, and then they had their full length album that came out. The EP was really cool. They did a couple covers, like they did a Steeler cover from the '80s. You remember those guys? It was Ingve's band
Okay.
before Ingve was Ingve.
Okay.
But pretty cool stuff. It's like, oh yeah, okay. So I'm going through this list here. So Death White. If you're not familiar with that band is incredible.
What'd you say it
Um,
was? Dev White?
Death White. They're on Season of Mist. It's it's like Catatonia if Catatonia were a rock band, but they're still like metally. They're really interesting, really fun. Um, oh, Spark Crown. Yeah, those guys fucking rule. That was an early release from February of last year. Um, that's some pretty crazy technical death metal. Um, so yeah, that's definitely worth checking out if you're not familiar with that one. One record that comes to mind that got shat on when it came out was Ozzy Osbourne's last record. I thought was fantastic.
Really?
It was very different, and he did it with the producer who worked with Post Malone. So everybody said, "Oh, it's a pop record." I'm going like Osmosis was a pop record, dude. It's still a good album.
Right. Right. Right.
It's um, big fan of that record. Would I say it's album of the year? No, but it was still a good record. And if it was Ozzy's last record, I would be okay with it. There's some really strong songs on that one. Oh yeah, this was last year too. My Dying Brides, The Ghost of Orion.
Okay.
Oh my god,
Good
just
stuff.
doom,
Oh, okay.
just doom. It's like if you're a fan of like funeral doom metal, I mean like My Dying Bride is pretty much the godfathers of that. So their last album is, and the other thing about My Dying Bride is their records have always sounded they've always kind of sounded a little bit like rubbery, from an audio perspective.
Yeah.
They've always kind of felt they've always kind of felt like a little bit weaker than they should be, meaning like sonically speaking. Like you go see the band live, and they just sound like a goddamn brick shithouse falling out of the sky. It's just huge, and it's just so depressing and awesome, and and you can just like you can hear in the singer's voice like just how sad and mournful he is. They've never been able to capture that on a record until their latest record.
Yeah.
It's and 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 you're talking to like I have all of their albums, including their couple EPs that are really hard to find. So that's really good. Um, let's see, the latest Pearl Jam record was underwhelming, to be honest. That one came out. Um, the, without looking, the new Incinerate record. Holy shit!
I heard they just well, at least it was just shared the last couple days. One of their, God damn it, what is the name of the song? I'm gonna look it up really quick if I can find it quick. Um, but I had listened to that tune, and I just shared it on the Ritual Madness podcast Facebook page. And
Yeah, and that record, and I recorded the vocals with Jesse for that album at 1459.
yeah,
But there's two things I can say about that record, and this is not a sales pitch for the studio at all. Jesse sounds the best he's ever sounded on a record.
dude, big time.
Like,
Yes, I agree with you.
hands down. So it had nothing to do with the microphone or the preamp I was using. It had everything to do with how he sounded. He sounded like a fucking beast.
He sure did, man.
And then and that album was, and the tracks were super strong. The songwriting was that spastic Incinerate thing that we all love, but still had hooks.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It was just really good. And Juan Ortega, who's known for doing like the Last Testament record that came out last year, that was really good. And we're done stuff with Machine Head, and he's worked with tons and tons of metal bands, and like that mix just
Crushes.
dude, it's just the best mix they've had.
Yeah, it's heavy as balls, man. Fleeting Opulence is the video that I shared on the Ritual Madness podcast Facebook page. Also, I kind of scrolled past this one as well. If you guys didn't know, let me see here. Grief Collector got signed just recently, and they just released a lyrical video, and I did share that today on Ritual Madness podcast on Facebook. Also, Gabriel and Apocalypse just did a remix album, and they dropped a bunch of stuff too. If you're wanting to check that out, that is also on the Ritual Madness podcast Facebook. And since we're talking about this, and we've talked about this a couple times, live at 1459. Let me see here. Let me see here. I just shared the Oh Joy video that you guys did with Trading Faces. So check that out. These guys are a really fun band. I had a fun time watching this video, and it kind of gives you the idea, gives you an idea. Also, they released a Impaler video. Impaler did a video with these guys as well at 1459, and that is a fantastic video as well. Cool camera angles, very very cool. You can see that again. That's Thermonuclear Man. With live at 1459. Check it out. It's very cool. Now, did you guys release that on your channel as well on YouTube?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So are you still seeing my video? My video freezed up here. I'm just making sure things are working for you.
I can hear you. I can hear you, but I'm not seeing. Yeah, your video is just shows me the 1459 studios.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So should I log back in here for the lovely people?
See if you can. Did it stop? Did the video stop for you?
Yes.
Okay, I can just see the what it's. Did you click your video icon on your page?
Let's go ahead and give this a shot here. I think I might have to relog in here.
Okay, so what I'll do, Will, is I'll actually play a song from Plague of Stars, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'll do that right now. I'm gonna do Plague of Stars, Suffering, This is off of what is it? What is the name of this album again?
It's Daedalus. It was released in 2019. Yep.
Okay, awesome. I'll play this tune, Will, and then you can do your deed, and we'll be back with this deal. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, boss. I'll be
Yep.
back.
Hey, what's going on, folks? How you doing? Thank you for sticking around with us, hanging out in the studio, chatting with Will Maravelas. Will, you still there?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
It kind of seems like the video just zonked out on us. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but we still have you audio wise, which is totally
Sure.
fine with me if you're cool with that.
I'm fine with it if you are.
Awesome, awesome. So you guys released this album in 2019?
2019, yes, sir. We hope to do the Wicked Arts Festival again. That was a cool show that we did to release that with Kuna Noon for their album as well. Had some great plans for that for 2020 that we're going to try and move into 2022 or 2021 late if possible, or move into 2022 if necessary. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Okay, fantastic, man. That's killer. I do have one more song that I'll play. When we end up slowing it down here for a little bit.
Sure.
I want to say thank you to everybody out there that took the time to go to our YouTube channel in the last day or so. I was at like 63 or 61 likes on YouTube. And honestly, if you know who I am, I really could give two shits less about YouTube. But in this time right now, it's a great way to keep tabs on each other, and you get to see people's faces, and you get to do interviews and stuff. So, and you can go back and watch some of the interviews that we have on the YouTube channel. And I just wanted to say thank you for everyone. We moved from 61 in the last day and a half to 123. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the with the YouTube page that we just started, I think we're at a cozy like 10 people subscribing. So hell, I'll take that for having like 4 videos up. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
So,
which is that at 1459? You say?
yep, 1459 Studios is the name of the page. If you go watch any of these live videos, Trading Faces, Impaler, there'll be another Impaler video dropping on Monday as well. Some more Trading Faces videos dropping next week. Likely, I won't speak for Dave, but Fix the Glitch stuff should probably drop next week. Krog would probably be the week after that. I've got a bunch of pedal reviews that I'm gonna do. I also got endorsed by Paul Reed Smith Guitars this year,
Hey,
so I'll be.
congratulations, man.
Yeah,
That's pretty
thank
fucking
you.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm a total Paul Reed Smith nerd. I've just loved those guitars and have for since I was a wee little lad. So I'll be doing some videos with them as well. So if you're interested in talking about gear and watching local Minnesota shenanigans, it's a good YouTube page to subscribe to as well. So,
Yeah, I went when you now have 13 subscribers.
oh no, 13. All right, cool.
So do us a favor and go over to 1459 Studios and subscribe to Will's channel. They do like you just said, they're doing live at 1459 videos. Bands can record 3 songs with pro audio, 4 to 5 camera angles, and for $250, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And honestly, folks, if you're not taking advantage of that, it is fantastic. Bowser just said 14 subs, so he subscribed as well. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody coming into the chat room as well. I'm sorry, it's difficult. I wanted to give Will a fantastic, well, I would say a proper interview and get kind of what he's been up to and what he's got going on in with his studio and with the rehearsal spaces and with the video stuff. So I apologize not interacting with you folks as much as I normally would with the let's see here. Bowser says the new Ozzy was dope as fuck. I don't give a fuck is what he said. So he agrees with you.
Yeah, cool. Good. He's right. It's a great rock and roll album.
And then let me see here. I forgot. Bowser also said I forgot about the My Dying Bride release. Released a new album. Thank you for the reminder, Will. Joey also says Incinerate is so badass. And what did you guys think of the new Cannibal Corpse?
Oh, the new Cannibal Corpse sounds awesome. It's Eric Rutan is just he's gonna fit right in with that band.
Yeah, yeah.
It's I'm really happy too. It's like the I'm really happy they went back to his studio, just being again a studio nerd. I think they've made their best sounding stuff with Eric. Not necessarily their best, their best albums. I mean, they have, what is this, their 15th album, I want to say now.
Right.
They made quite a few great albums, and saying which one's the best Cannibal Corpse record is gonna cause a lot of different opinions. But my favorite album from Cannibal Corpse, speaking for me only, is Kill. And
that's a good album, dude.
And that record was I want to say it was the first one they did with Eric Rutan. I could be wrong, but I thought like that was the record where they really started to sound like they sound live, kind of that whole powerhouse thing.
Yeah.
Cannibal Corpse is probably the band that I've seen more than any other band. I want to say that I'm going on a baker's dozen, I think, Cannibal Corpse at this point.
Yeah.
So
when are you going to do the Jim Carrey and jump up there and dance like a maniac with him?
As soon as they let me. We talked about that, oddly enough, when so some of you guys may or may not remember Adam Sagan. He was a fixture in the Minneapolis music scene for a long time. Adam and I worked together for a long time. He rented space for me for a very long time. We were very close. We were very close friends. And Adam did a lot of touring gigs, did a lot of studio work for what I like to refer to as real bands, and he was working a Cannibal Corpse tour, and he basically just said, hey, you want to come meet the band and everything like that. And I gotta say that literally these guys are not rock stars. They're like the nicest down to earth dudes ever. It's like, well, they've like offered me like beer and cookies. It was really
so what you're saying is there was no Chris Barnes.
there was no Chris Barnes. So it was but when Adam kind of took us back to meet those guys, I actually asked them, I'm like, so can I come up and do the floppy crappie like Jim Carrey, in the movie? And they're just kind of like, we'll see what happens,
You'd be tangling with Corpse Grinder's neck the whole time.
Oh, dude, he would. Yeah, it's like he doesn't even have a neck, man. He's just shoulders and face.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic, man. Nate Mitchell says the debut EP for Waste has been my number one EP for 2020, and the Acacia Strain album Slow Decay was amazing.
Yeah, Rot put out a really good album too last year. The band Rot.
Yep.
That's some really excellent hardcore stuff. Punk rock, kind of hardcore, angry music. The Acacia Strain reference made me think of that release as well.
Yeah. That's fantastic, man.
There's just so much good music last year, and it's in a lot of ways. It's like the new Black Dahlia Murder record was really good.
Yeah.
There's just so much, and it was like all across the board too. Like musically speaking, like rock albums, metal albums, punk rock records. Doom metal stuff. There's just so much that came out last year. I definitely listened to more music last year than I have in previous years, because working from home, man, it's just my CD player is just all day, every day.
Now, Will, did you have a hand in the Celic stuff?
I did not. I wish I would have. Other than we did the pre-production for their album, I suppose that counts. But as far as the my good buddy Adam Tucker did that record, and it sounds really, really good. It's been done for a while. Okay. I think they were waiting to release it for shows as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they just said, screw it, let's just put it out. It's been done for close to a year.
Oh wow.
Because I think we did pre-production for that record. I want to say like it was early last year. I mean, it was like January or December of the previous year. It was really early, and that was like a month or two before they went in to go record with Adam. But yeah, it's another great record that you guys are gonna love. I know they're dropping. They just dropped the video today, actually.
Yep.
For the second single.
Yeah, Midnight Hour, I believe it is. Midnight Hour, I think it is. I shared it also on Ritual Madness podcast on Facebook. Check that out. Again. Let me see here.
They rehearse at the studio too. Obviously, we share a drummer, and which all bands do, it seems like.
or if you're Rob Carlson, the guitar player.
Yeah.
Yes.
The man of a million bands.
Yes, I agree. So what else you been up to, Will? What tell me some more stuff. What else you been up to?
You know, my life is my life pretty much completely revolves around music. I really don't do anything else, you
Yeah.
know. I I work my regular 9 to 5, which actually I'm really lucky. I've been working from home since March. They sent us home pretty quick, and said do that whole thing. So that's been really nice to be able to just chill out, have my dog at my feet, and listen to tunes all day while I'm working. That's pretty cool.
Right.
Um, Other than that, I'm just playing a lot of guitar, writing a lot of music. Obviously my own bands have been a huge focus for 2020 and beyond, where I just kind of said I'm going to get a lot more, even more involved with my own creative process again, and just enjoying all of that, and really taking the time to just do my own music as well as the studio. So I'm trying to make sure that I use the studio for what I initially intended it for, which was to also do music myself. I love working with the community, and I love recording bands and playing music, and hearing what the community has to offer, and getting inspired by the other players in the studio. But sometimes it's really nice to just sit down and record and work on my own music, and that's something that kind of got neglected for a little while. And I'm happy to say that every 3 months now I have time just scheduled out for myself, because I have to do that. I have to actually schedule time at the studio for myself and go, all right, this week I'm going to work on XYZ.
Yeah. I can imagine,
You
man.
know,
I can imagine. You've got a lot of stuff going on. You have for quite a long time, dude. I don't know how you balance it all out a lot of times, man.
I don't either. I don't either. I don't really know how I figured this stuff out. And I still volunteer for the label and all that kind of thing too. But that's going to continue, but that's going to change too. It's going to be a much larger group of people kind of running that thing going forward. And so I can focus more on my own creative music, and then obviously the studio as well. I'm like, that's honestly where I feel at home most, is playing my own music and recording other people. I think that's where my time is best well spent.
Yeah.
Um, and that's
Well, dude, you've released some amazing stuff out of that studio, man. Sounds I've heard it really come together, man, in the last 5 years, dude, something like that.
Thank you.
I mean, it
Thank you.
seems to me like you really kind of tuned it in real well. I mean, it seems every band has a great sound when they work with you, and a lot of people really enjoy it and keep coming back, man. And that says it speaks volumes about what type of studio you run, how tight of a ship you run over there, and from your previous studio space over there off of what was that, Washington there?
Yeah, I was off of Second Street,
Yeah.
off of Second Street in Washington, over by the original Broadway Pizza over there.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And
On the
and
north side.
that I mean, it speaks volumes when people want to continue coming back to a producer, an engineer, that type of person, and go to the same studio. And I know that all of Rob Carlson's projects have gone through 1459, and that's fantastic, man. You're working with other labels and helping other people out, dude. You're a solid guy. You always have been, man. And I know people appreciate your presence around here, and all the positivity that you give out, man. Tom in the came in the chat and said that new Warbringer's awesome too.
Oh yeah, Weapons of Tomorrow. Yeah, that's a great record. The Yeah, that was a surprise record, and I've always enjoyed Warbringer. They've always been one of those bands where, and We Are Legion, my old band, we played with them, and they're great dudes. But
When they were
I've
first
always
really
enjoyed
coming out,
them.
wasn't were that you guys played with them when they first started coming out, right?
Yeah, I mean they were like 2 or 3 albums in at that
Oh,
point. I
okay,
think this
okay,
was like album 5 or 6.
okay.
But they're one of those bands where it's like they were always there, but you always like saw that potential, and you
Sure.
just like went this band just really, all they need to do is just put out like one great record to just put them over the top. And Weapons of Tomorrow is that record for sure for that band. It's like to their last record, whose name escapes me right now. But I listened to the last record. I'm like, yeah, that's an enjoyable record. That's a cool thrash record where it's like it's like, holy fuck, where did Weapons of Tomorrow come from?
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
was. It was like when it was like it gave me the same feeling that when Carcass put out Surgical Steel. It's like, okay, this band really has a fire now. It's
Right.
like, I don't know what, it's like, well, Carcass took like 15 years off or whatever it was, but it's like Warbringer just said, okay, cool, we're gonna write this amazing album now, and people aren't gonna realize it's here, and it just was there, and it just blew the doors off the place.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check
Having
that one out.
yeah, having a new label probably helped. Having some new drive, that kind of thing. It's I know some people I know some people at Napalm, and if they like your band, they really put a lot into you, and I think that was the case with Warbringer.
That's fantastic, man. Everybody loves that. Now, speaking of labels, have you signed any bands as of late in the last couple of years? Are there things that you guys are going to be releasing anytime soon?
Well, as far as Zero Budget goes,
Yeah.
yes. We've definitely signed some bands. Reflection of Flesh out of Milwaukee's. They're putting out their second EP, Parasitic, that comes out in February 26th, I think. I have to go back and look. Common Choir is going to release some stuff here pretty soon. That's going to be digital only releases, I believe. I'd have to verify with them because they're just finishing recording it.
Okay.
I know that there's a lot of plans for the year. I know Deep Haven, who's a great band, is putting out our first vinyl release in 20 years.
Nice.
So that's going to be really cool to have that come out. Coffin Rights hopefully comes out this year. So there's definitely going to be some stuff this year for sure. One record that I think is really worth pointing out that came out in January of last year was Maniacal Force, Depraved Existence. That record came out in January. It was done at the studio. It was, I think, a fantastic like death thrash record. But it came out in January, and they had all these shows lined up that never came to fruition. So if anybody wants to go check out Maniacal Force, Depraved Existence, that record's fantastic.
Where are they from?
They're from, a couple guys live in Minneapolis, a couple guys live in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so really, really good band. Just 4-piece, old school as fuck, singer playing guitar, and that whole thing. Really, really excellent death thrash band. Really good.
Awesome. Very cool.
But that was January of 2020, but obviously got buried. So
yeah,
and
that really sucks, man. To have that happen too, man. When you release a kick-ass album and it just kind of not necessarily flops, but there's no shows. You can't promote it. You can't get it. And again, that falls back into the same thing that you guys are doing right now with the Live at 1459. I think that. Again, I'm just gonna beat that to death because I think it's such a fucking great idea, man. That you.
I'm gonna let you continue to sell it. I don't have to even do it.
Yeah, I honestly, dude, I would in a heartbeat because honestly, folks, Will is offering a fantastic service live at 1459, multiple camera angles. You're being videoed, and I'm sure there's going to be some fantastic photography that comes out of it because Dave Verbeen is involved in it. So live at 1459, you get multiple camera angles. You get 3 songs, professionally sound, done by Will, videoed by Dave Verbeen, and $250 for 3 songs. I think it's a fantastic deal. I think that you guys are sleeping on that shit. If you haven't heard about it, they just said they were kind of pushing it around about October of last year. So it's still fresh. It's still new. There's not a lot of people that have done it so far. And I think you guys, we're all dying for new music from you guys out there, man. I am dying to see some live music, man. And if you can release some old stuff, some new stuff, who knows? Maybe you just like remix some stuff and want to record it and get it out there. Get a hold of Will, 1459, live at 1459. I think you guys are sleeping on it. You need to get on that shit and put it out because we need it, man. Everybody out here, we need to support this shit. Everybody start a fucking YouTube channel so we can watch all the videos that Will and Dave have done.
But yeah, there's a lot of great bands I'm talking to right now, and I'm hoping that and there's so many great bands in the city.
Yeah.
It's hard to. I mean, there's so many great bands in the just in the city, let alone the state, let alone the region.
Yeah.
It's I'm really hoping that I'm obviously really hoping that people utilize that, and then obviously it's like the studio's recording regular music too,
Right.
so it's one of those things where you just go, if you if you do anything, do something. That's the takeaway.
Right.
It's
Right.
like whether it's with me or with someone else, it's like it's let's take this time to get creative. It's like I was thinking while we were chatting here, going like, has anybody talked to their friend about doing a side project? Do that side project you've been putting off for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do a one-off with some friends. Have somebody write a song and get a bunch of friends together from different bands and just record the song.
Crank
Do
it up.
something.
Yeah.
Um,
Something very cool may come out of that too. You know what I'm saying? Like you may be like, yeah, man, we've wanted to jam together for a while, and then you get together. You never know what kind of sparks are gonna fly when that happens, man.
yeah, yeah. It's just try. I know when I did the Wolf Harvester project, I remember when I decided to do that last year, I was just bored. I was literally just bored. All my projects from at the studio were, I was between homes, and it was COVID. And I'm sitting here I finished all the projects that I was working on at the time. Things were in various states of review, and I'm just going, what the hell am I going to do? I'm so used to having like 9 projects in various states of finishing that I'm like sitting around staring at my computer going, I don't have anything to finish for somebody else.
Right.
And my wife looks at me and goes like, do that soundscape project you've been talking about doing for years. And I'm like, okay. So I just did it,
Right.
And yeah, it's very bizarro for me, and it's a very bizarro for the type of music. I guess people that are familiar with my music. You can't see me air quoting, but that are familiar with my repertoire. It sounds nothing like anything I've done. So yeah, the point is try something new.
That takes a lot. That takes a lot of balls to go outside your your normal your normal thing. You know what I mean? Like live a little, get outside of your normal run of the mill metal. You know what I mean? Like do something different. I think that people don't try enough. You know what I'm saying? People don't just step outside of their norm enough. They should try something different. I mean, there's one guy that comes to mind all the time for me, being in the music scene in the Twin Cities, is Al Town. The guy has done so much different shit. He's done like rapcore, and he's done, you know what I mean? The dude, he's a talented guy. There's so many talented musicians in the Twin Cities, but Al comes to mind.
Yeah, dude, it's the great thing about, like, I'd say like Plague of Stars, which is my I've got Coffin Rights, my death metal band, which people probably are more familiar with, and from the We Are Legion days, that kind of thing. It was a little more of a quote unquote natural step from doing that band into doing Coffin, because it's death metal, right?
Right.
It's definitely different than We Are Legion. We Are Legion is much more traditional death metal, like you were saying. Coffin Rights is like punk thrash death metal, that kind of thing. But then like Plague of Stars, when Melissa and I decided to do Plague of Stars, which thank you for playing our music, I really appreciate that. I remember I actually remember when we played at Club Underground, Greg. I don't know if you'll remember this, but we played at Club Underground, and we were playing with Cold Colors.
Yeah.
And and you were there, and it was the first time that a lot of people had heard Plague of Stars, and you came up to me and you're going, that was different. I'm not sure what to think of it yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's okay. Because it was so, it was like the antithesis of what I was doing previously.
Right.
And I love that band. It's like we refer to that band internally as like a musical dump, in the sense that we literally just throw everything we can at a wall and just go, is it going to stick?
Yeah.
There's death metal, there's thrash metal, there's symphonic metal, there's gothic rock.
Yeah.
It's
dude, you guys put on a hell of a live show too, man. It's aesthetically pleasing. When the last time I think I saw you guys was at Lee's, and you guys put on a fucking fantastic show, man. Everybody was into it. You guys everyone in that band is a showman. Everyone in that band is fantastic.
Well, thank you very much. And talking about throwing together weird bills, it's like I gotta say, it's like Wishden asked us to play that show,
right,
which was pretty awesome, because Wishden which didn't play guitars in what most people would consider bands that don't work together. They would fall into that category.
Right.
But if you actually like saw us play together, it kind of makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Right. Right.
like they're like one of those, and I love that band too. It's the Deuce Nil record that I did with those guys that came out December of 2019 is one of my favorite records that I've ever done at the studio.
Yeah.
Period. Of like 12 years of this studio and then 10 years of the places I worked previously. It's
Right.
it's I've been doing this a long time.
That says a lot. That says a lot about that album. Tom says 1459 smells better than any other studio in the Twin Cities. He says 1459 has the cleanest bathrooms of any studio in the Midwest. He's like Will is.
I don't think that's an understatement.
He said Will is really underselling these bathrooms. That's fantastic.
Do I need to charge more for the rent just for the bathrooms or what? The funny thing is, the funny thing is like when so another thing on 1459, and the space, the rehearsal side of the business is, I hired a cleaning person.
Yeah.
And people are like going, you hired a cleaning person for rehearsal space? Are you fucking insane? And I'm like, I want to keep this place nice.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
Let's take the trash out. What a concept.
Yeah, I can't even tell you how many studios with that. You walk into the bathroom and you can taste it. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, wait, did I just enter the terminal bar? You know what I mean? And it's a big guy like me, I can especially when you're coming straight from work to practice and you're practicing and you're like, oh my god, you gotta use the bathroom real bad, and you go in there and you can taste it. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna have to go to the store down the street just to relieve myself, because you're like, it's horrible,
Yeah, it's an acquired taste. It's like the joke of the terminal bars. If you've ever used the bathroom at the terminal bar, you're immune to the coronavirus.
Right. And I have, and that is actually a false statement, because I was banking on that. I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to get coronavirus. I've even drank at the terminal bar. I think I inhaled some of those fucking flies that fly around their taps.
Yeah, that whole if you don't have anything nice to say thing, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take my mom's advice on the terminal bar.
I'll be the bad guy on this one, Will. I'll take one for the team here, man. I'm glad that they're a venue that puts up with us metal guys shenanigans, but.
In all respect, it's like any venue is an important venue. It really is, and it's there are definitely pros and cons that I could say to any venue in town. But at the end of the day, they're giving a stage to a bunch of maniacs to go play shows, and that says something.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we lost a couple venues in the riots too, didn't we?
Yeah, the Hexagon is the Hexagon's a corpse now for sure.
And then they there was some sort of showing of the ass in that whole chaotic thing too, wasn't it?
Yeah. He the owner claims it was somebody else, but I'm sitting here going, nah, I don't believe you. Sorry, it was and
it seemed a little fishy, man, for sure. It seemed fishy.
I've had mixed feelings about the Hexagon personally for years, and my studio is actually very close to the Hexagon. Right. But as far as as far as location, we're in South Minneapolis in the Seward neighborhood. But as far as the Hexagon goes, it's like when it was actually not there anymore. When I watched it burn, because I was watching it burn. It was all over everybody's news feed at that time, like in the music scene, because at the end of the day, the Hexagon has been it's been a venue for a very long time.
Yep.
Like I said, regardless of my personal feelings on this show or that show or this situation or that situation, it's been around for a long time. And when we watched it burn, I kind of and for as much shit as I talked about the Hexagon personally, is I just sat there and I went, wow, it really sucks to lose this place. And then the owner made that comment. And I'm like, nope, never mind.
Yeah.
It can die.
Yeah.
It's and if anybody wants to know, they can message us directly because I'm going to not be negative in a public forum. But the uh, the owner definitely showed his true colors as being,
Yeah.
we're going to use the word. I'm going to say it. It's like for being a racist piece of shit. And yeah, it's so that place can now die.
Yep.
I don't care what happens to it now.
Right. Right.
But when it was burning, I definitely felt the emotion of like, this sucks. Now that it's gone, I miss it.
Yeah.
And then that comment was made, and I'm like, never mind,
Yeah.
never mind.
It's amazing how fast that can change. You know what I'm saying? Because it was
Yep.
such a staple in the Twin Cities, man. I mean, it really was. It's been around since before the Mirage days. You know what I mean? They were.
Yep.
It's a long time. If you know your history here in the Twin Cities, they were around a long time. And it's unfortunate, man. And again, you know. In those type of situations, man, that stuff does come out, man. People show their colors on this whole thing, and it's unfortunate we lost another a venue, but in the long run, it's just like, oh, well, there it is, you know.
Well, the good thing about this whole thing is, it's I do know there's some gonna be some new places opening up. Even through all this thing, it's like people have hope.
Yeah,
And there's I'm not gonna speak to the specifics of it, but I know a musician who was in some notable bands over the last couple of years is opening up a new place. And when things can, he wants to start doing shows there. And he's invested well, so he's put himself in a good financial position. And he's the friend of the metal scene. And
fantastic.
he wants to do it. And it's just a matter of when everything can be. And I hope that and he'll do a good job. And the whiskey, the whiskey junction, and the caboose, and the Amsterdam, and the nomad, and the terminal bar, club underground. It's those places are gonna survive. It appears so far they're gonna survive. First Avenue, Turf Club. um you know there's stages. And I think what's going to happen, which I do view as a really, really positive from this whole thing, some of those venues that have maybe been a little less apt to do local events are probably going to be a lot more open to doing local events
Yeah,
at this point. And I think that I don't think they're going to take it for granted anymore. And again, at the with staying positive on the whole thing, I won't talk about those venues. But it's I think a lot of those places are going to be an open door for local music again, which is important. It's really important.
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, man. I just hope. Well, so I've been seeing in my feed, as of like the last couple weeks, man. There's been a lot of my friends who work in the healthcare industry that are really pushing towards this vaccination. And I honestly, I don't know enough about it. I think a lot of people don't know enough about it, and I think it's a step in the right direction. I hope that it does work. I hope that people are being safe still, and I hope they're still going to use masks and stay far enough apart that you're being safe about everything. But man, I would love to be able to go to a show. I'd love to be able to give a high five to a friend and give a hug, man. I miss everybody, man. I miss live shows, and I hope that it does come back, and I hope it comes back. And the passion's still there. I hope everybody, like we were talking about earlier, man, I hope people are working on their craft right now. I hope they're working with new people. I hope that there's creativity abound coming out of people. There's so much stuff happening in the world, so many things that you could talk about, so many positive things you could talk about, so much change that needs to happen in this world, so much. I mean, you got to give inspiration to people out there, man. We need it right now. And again, I hope people take advantage of the Live at 1459 and come and do some videos with you guys and give us a taste of what they're working on. Give us a taste of this new music to come. Let us see, behind the curtain, so to speak, with because it just seems like curtains are everywhere, man. You really can't take in what everybody's working on right now because we're not able to be in a studio together. You know what I mean? We're not able to gather in large groups. So I really hope that
Yeah, it's
changes
gonna be
soon.
yeah, it's gonna be really nice when obviously when that happens. And in the meantime, in the meantime, it's I, and it's not just because I own a studio. It's like there's tons of great studios in town. There's Signature Tone, my friend Adam. It's like there's Treehouse Studios. There's lots of great creative people out there. It's like the biggest thing right now is just take this time to create and take this time to get some work done. It's the studios, meaning rehearsal spaces or whatever it may be, should all be jamming. And when all those places are jamming and you feel good about what you've created, come in and let's make a record, let's make an EP, let's make a single, let's make a video, whatever you guys want to do. It's the Live at 1459 thing. Yes, in many ways it's to get people into the new space and see it, of course. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. But as far as all that goes, it gives everybody an opportunity. If you want to do a full live show and you want to do more songs, tell us. You don't have to just do three. You can do four, you can do five, you can do a 12-song set. We'll figure it out. It's one of those things where whatever works for what you're trying to say musically, you know talk to us, talk to the studio you're comfortable with, whatever it is, man. Go out and do it. And just use this time. I don't think and it's like I don't know if it's like my outlook on things has really changed a whole lot. But I was sick for a good part of the year last year, not with COVID, but I was sick with a lot of shit last year. And it just kind of made me go, it's like, look, man, life is really fucking short. It's just like one of those things where, I won't get too much into detail, but one of the things was like, hey, you might have cancer, right? And that's very real, because my friend Adam, who we talked about earlier, died at my age.
Yeah.
So it's very real, and that hit home for me for sure. But it's one of those things where you just sit down and you go, thankfully it wasn't, but you just sit down and you go, look, man, you only got so much time, fucking use it.
Yeah.
And you know, music is such a huge part of my life, so I never want to say that I took it for granted. I've always appreciated music, and for and what it's done for me on a personal level, from a creative standpoint, from a life standpoint. I can't imagine my life without music.
Man, I know
And
that. I know this, man. I feel
yeah,
you.
so it's just like, look, let's take this time to really just focus on it. And if it's important to you, you'll put the effort in. And there's a lot of really great bands in this town. There's a lot of really great musicians. There's a lot of great people who aren't playing in bands right now. Let's make it happen. Let's figure it out. And you know that it's we've already seen people that we all know, like rise up, like rise up to the top of some places. Like I think about After the Burial. Like I remember the first show I ever played in Minneapolis was opening for that band, and going like, holy crap, I suck. After seeing those guys.
I think a
But
lot of us did that.
yeah, but that fucking motivated me a lot, right?
Yep.
And but that's the whole thing, guys. It's like, we've got a great community, we've got a great town, we've got a great creative space, and it isn't just music. We have a huge arts community. um it's let's figure out what we can do to lift each other up, and be positive, and stop all this negative shit, man. If there's one thing I can ask of everybody on this, that's listening to this thing or listens to this thing in the future, it's, for the love of God, if you're on fucking Facebook and you just have to roll up your sleeves and need to get ready to hit caps lock to argue with somebody on politics, just don't.
Yeah.
You're not going to change anybody's mind.
Yeah.
You're not going to help anybody grow. Instead, send them a private message and have a conversation. You will get so much more out of that. I didn't say sacrifice your values. I didn't say choke your, like, eat your tongue and, hold back how you feel. I said go have a conversation. Have a one-on-one conversation and realize that, you know what, you may not have as much difference with that person that you were just going to basically start going off on than you thought you did. And if you find out that they're a shitty human being and they decide to, they out themselves as a shitty human being, then you've got the wonderful thing called screenshot, and you can share it with the rest of the world to say, hey,
Right,
you're a
right.
shitty human being.
It sure happened a lot in the last year or so, man. It really
Yep.
has, and a lot of people have shown their ass on that thing. But I agree with you, man. Like putting it out there. And here's another thing too, man. Like if you do disagree with someone on something, you know what I mean. It's so unfair to the maybe to the friendship that you have with someone, or to yourself and that other person. It's so unfair for you to bring something up to someone on a public forum and allow everybody else to jump in. There's no solving anything that you're arguing about with a million people throwing their attitude in the middle of it and their opinion in the middle of it. It just becomes a fucking mess, and it's pointless. That's the whole thing. Like you said, man, you're not changing anybody's mind. How many times have you had a conversation with someone and they just start frantically yelling and screaming and fucking acting like a complete idiot? You shut down. You're like, I don't want to listen to this. Nobody wants to get screamed at. Nobody wants to hear that shit. If you've got 20 people all attacking somebody over their belief system or over their, politics or just nonsense, it's like, be a fucking man and go talk to them in person, or like you said, go straight to that person. Go right to their inbox and say, hey man, what is your deal? What's going on? Where are you coming from? Try to understand where they're coming from. Like, if you don't agree, fucking move on. There's something, you can just block that person. You can snooze them if you don't want to block them. You can just get them out of your fucking feed. You don't need the negativity, man. There's no sense in it, man. There's no sense in it. It's no good for anybody.
And it's just, and the biggest reason I say it is it's just not productive.
Right.
It's just not productive. And it's social media has always, I shouldn't say has always, it's pretty much for as long as I remember has been a cesspool.
Right.
It's a cesspool of negativity and garbage. And again, I want to reiterate that, you know, some things are important, and you need to have those conversations. It's like I said earlier, that it's like I'm never going to unfriend anybody over politics. I'm unfriend them over hate.
Right.
It's like I'm definitely going to not be friends with somebody, who I view as a racist. I'm not going to be friends with somebody who's an abuser. I'm not going to allow myself to be involved in those types of situations.
Right.
However, what happens a lot is things get misunderstood and misrepresented on Facebook or on any social media because people get all emotional.
Right.
There are still rights and wrongs. There are definitely rights and wrongs, and we all know what those rights and wrongs are. And we need to stand up as a community against those things. Like it's I'm kind of happy that I forgot about what they were calling themselves, but the wolf folks or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Who were spouting all that racist bullshit. It's like, yeah, that kind of stuff needs to be outed, and it needs to be dissipated.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we need to find common ground with that. I'm like, no, there is no common ground with Nazis.
Nope.
It's stomp their face and be done with it.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. But the whole thing with that situation is it's really easy to get wrapped up in emotions, that sometimes you forget that, how things are being presented is just as important as what you're actually saying.
Right.
So, and it's just a good rule of thought too, is like, oh look, if you want to be an artist, like it or not, man, it's a public forum these days. It's all you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot by, really talking any politics. It's like I put myself out there with being anti-establishment in the sense of our former president, but I'm sitting here going like, look, man, I didn't hate Trump because he's Republican. I hate him because he's a fucking douchebag. It has nothing to do with the political party. The guy's just a horrid human being.
Right.
And if anybody disagrees with me, cool, send me a message and we'll talk about the 25 reasons off the top of my head why I think he's a horrible human being,
Right.
and then we can talk about his politics that we disagree with, but we'll have a civil conversation about that. But it's one of those things where you just kind of you have to be able to stand up for what you believe in, but you also have to present yourself in an intelligent, thoughtful way for anybody to take you seriously whatsoever. Because if you're gonna just sit there and just yell the whole time, you're not gonna accomplish anything. You're just not. You're just a person yelling at another person, and that's the problem with politics to begin with in Washington.
Yeah.
It's just people yelling louder than the other person, not giving a shit about us. They just want to win. They
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
You know?
And screwing, most everyone, in that forum, I guess, we're the ones that are suffering from it. You know what I mean? They're pissing matches that are going on way above our heads that we have no clue what they're saying behind closed doors, and we end up suffering over the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Is like you'll find out a lot with people, whether they're left wing, whether they're right wing, whatever it may be, wherever their political leanings are. You'll find out you have a lot more in common with people in a political spectrum once you actually sit down and have a conversation with
Right.
them. A lot.
Yeah.
And that goes with anything. I would say the best thing that happened to me, from like the riots. I think about the week of the riots, and my studio was right in the middle of that thing, man, and it was pretty crazy. My wife's establishment got pretty fucked up. A lot of our friends' businesses got pretty fucked up. And a lot of damage happened, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here going, like, the best thing that happened during that whole thing is I started walking around talking to my neighbors.
Yeah.
I've lived in my house now for 5 years, and I bet I talked to more of my neighbors in the span of 3 days than I did in the previous 5 years.
Wow.
And I kind of liken that to the community aspect of music or art or creativity or your friends list or whatever you want to use. Is like, at the end of the day, we're all a community.
Right.
And
I think we lost sight of that for a really long time, man. And sometimes it
I
takes.
think we still lose sight of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that's healed.
Yeah.
And that was the best takeaway from this whole situation this summer. Is I was able to meet the people I live next to, and just in my own little small microcosm of the city, I'm sitting here going, wow, these are all wonderful, great people who I've never taken the time to get to know.
Right. And
the more we do that as individuals, that's the shit that's going to actually move mountains.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. We've lost sight of that for so many years, man. You kind of put your blinders on and go about your business and live your life, which is understandable. All of us have a lot of things going on all the time, but the people that are gonna look next door to see if somebody's breaking in your house, or if their kids are out in the street and something happens and you're able to help, or the little old lady down the road who may need somebody to help her shovel her walk or anything like that, man. I know when I was a kid, I was sent out there to find those things. In my grandma's neighborhood, she was like very adamant about a strong, healthy kid out there doing something and helping the community and trying to help people less fortunate, man. And dude, you and so many people around this music scene have that mindset. You know what I mean? A lot of the guys in the NYDM, Chris Stark, Rob Carlson, these guys are the guys that set our Toys for Tots every year for 9 years. You know what I mean? I believe that that needs to happen more, man. You need to reach out and help your community and help the people and try to be a positive reinforcement in this time, in this day and age, man. It was so much crazy stuff going on with the riots and things getting burnt to the ground for and people say, why are you going to burn down your own neighborhood? I honestly, the matter of fact of what happened, it was a powder keg to begin with in Minneapolis with police brutality and with people in Minnesota dying by the hands of the police. You know what I mean? It's something that eventually had to come to a head, man. And it stems out that way. And it's like being enraged. You just want to smash something, you want to destroy something. And unfortunately, it was many businesses, it was many, people's livelihoods that had to suffer from it all. Did we learn anything? I'm not really too sure about that. I don't know. I think we moved in some good steps forward, man. And I think that, I think we really do need to, be like you will, and step out of our comfort zone, and go talk to our neighbors, and introduce ourselves. And I mean, I see a lot of people a lot of times, look at the music community, look at the metalheads and shit, and I saw it in the guy from Mirror of Beings news feed. One of his family members, he shared a video of a rap guy, and in the lyrical content of this guy was phenomenal, man. He was breaking it down, barriers and racism and all this other stuff. And one of his family members was like, this isn't music, this isn't, and just kind of start shitting on the music. And like all these people respectfully told his family member, like, these people are some of the best people you'll ever meet. You know what I mean? And I chimed in and was like, so many people look at the metal community and people who yell and scream and do music, and you know what I mean? Like they want to categorize it or like demonize it or something. You know what I mean? Like you get a bad rap for it. You get a bad rap because you're singing shit that people don't understand because their ears aren't tuned to it. You know what I mean? They're not. It's not something. It's not Lawrence Welk. It's not jazz. It's not old rock and roll. It's not the things that they're used to, and they're not stepping out of their comfort zone. But yet they're shitting on it because they don't understand. And it was so good to see people actually like say, "Hey, man, we understand this is your family, but these people that you're talking about are good people. Some of the smartest, most intelligent people that I've ever met come from this community, man. You know what I mean? The people that we hang out with, some of the most heartfelt people around are the people in this community."
I always I always say to people, it's because I have some clientele that's definitely outside of outside of the metal world, right? And it's really funny because I learned this a long time ago because I'm like, people can't see the video here, but it's like, I've got my whole arm tattooed, right? And I learned this in the business community a long time ago where you go, all right, cool, I go to my job and I wear long sleeve shirts every day and I tie my hair back and I look blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
So that way they can judge me on my work ethic before they judge me on how I look. And why is that a thing for me? Because I've dealt with that my entire life.
Right.
Now, now let's go ahead and superimpose that to, the color of somebody's skin or their sexual preference or their religion or the fact that the fact that they wear some sort of like some headdress or something like that. It's sitting here going like, I chose to get a tattoo. I chose to grow my hair out, right? I didn't choose this. These other people aren't choosing these things, right? And I learned that at a really young age with the whole metal community and kind of likening that aspect of my life to what's going on to the rest of the world. And the big thing that I guess the big takeaway for me was just going like, look, man, we're all fucking people. We're all one race of people,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all one community. And that's what I always came back to, was just like, we're all in this together. The only way we're getting out of this thing, we're none of us are getting out of this thing alive, man.
Right.
We're all gonna die at some point,
Right.
right? It's it's just crazy. But like the metal community, it's super funny because people that are outside of the metal community, like I have a client, her name is Alice. She's maybe 5'1", maybe. She's but my God, does that girl have a voice?
Yeah.
Just a voice, right? And I really can't wait to like share this music with people because I think it's really, really good. And it's, and again, so outside of the metal world. So people will be like, oh, Will recorded this. Oh, this is different. But her music's really good. But I could definitely tell the first time she met me, she was a little bit intimidated. But by the end of it, she's just like, "You're just a giant teddy bear," and I'm like going, "If you ever come out to a metal show, that's everybody. It's you see all these people in their leather and their studs and their chains and their back patches and their tattoos and their long hair,
Giant
whatever,
beards.
yeah, their beard with way too much gray, like you and me both, and whatever it may be. But you're just sitting here going, like, you'll just realize really quick that everybody's just a giant teddy bear, and that always made me really smile. It's like I think about like my friendship with Rob, right, where it's I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'10". Rob's like 6 foot whatever,
Yeah.
and him and I walking down the street and like it looks like it looks like some sort of like a cartoon script or something like that, where but
Yep.
but we just sit there and go like he's just like this just giant fucking teddy bear. The guy would do anything for anybody,
Yeah.
and
He really would, man.
yeah,
He enjoys your company and he cares about you. I mean, honestly, dude, Rob is a solid person, man. Solid
yeah.
dude.
And you could say that about so
So
many
many.
people in the music scene, right? It's just an example that comes to my brain right away, just because Rob and I are close. But it's this whole idea of it's just this whole idea of like we have we have so much that we could teach each other from our differences that it just astounds me that in 2021 people are still talking about such trivial stupid shit.
Man.
I'm like going, we're all humans. Let's all work together. Let's celebrate each other's differences. Let's understand that there's definitely adversity that people face because of diversity, and let's work together to be a community with everybody so that we can all get through this together.
Man.
Let's have some understanding, let's have some empathy, and let's, for the love of God, figure out how to be better to each other, and it's not that hard to not be a shitty human being. It's really not. It does not take any effort to not be a dick.
Yeah.
you
You're
know
absolutely right on that one, man. Absolutely right. Yeah.
anyway.
You're fucking that's top notch, man. That's dropping knowledge on them right there. Well, for sure. Hey, man, I really do appreciate you coming on and doing this stuff. Doing this podcast, man. I know you're a busy guy. I know that it is getting later in the evening, and we're it's a Friday night, and we don't have a whole lot going on. But I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this shit.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's like we got pontificating for a little bit, but it's all good. It's at the end of the day, it's like my little, our little microcosm of the world is music, and you know, I'm of absolute 100% belief that music can change people. It can help them grow. It can help them see things differently. It can help them have a greater understanding. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm like fucking Gandhi or some shit, because I'm not. But but at the end of the day, it's music. Music is music has the potential to unify people in a way that a lot of other art forms don't.
I agree.
And not everybody necessarily cares about that aspect of things, but I do. And it's one of those things where I would really like to be a part of whatever change or growth or positivity I can be, here in my little microcosm of the world, here in the Twin Cities. So I just appreciate people giving a shit about, you know, what's going on with music, because that's how I'm going to continue to be able to be happy personally, and feel like I can be a creative force in my own way and help other people be a creative force as well.
Absolutely, man.
You know?
Absolutely.
So
Hell yeah. That's fucking fantastic. Hey, Will, how can people get in touch with you? How can they book studio time? How can they get involved in the Live at 1459?
hey, thanks for asking. You can reach out to me personally on various social medias. I will tell you the preference is for people to email me, 1459 studios plural LLC at gmail.com. So 1459 studios LLC at gmail.com. You're certainly welcome to reach out to me on my personal social media. You're also happy. You can find me on Instagram. It's at 1459 studios. You can join the YouTube page and message me through that. Whatever format you like best. the space rehearsal studios is the space rehearsal at gmail.com. For anybody who's interested in potentially renting, we're full right now, and I anticipate we'll be full during the next lease because I've got quite the waiting list going. But nonetheless, let's continue to be creative and continue to make music, and let's do the live thing. Let's do regular recordings. Let's make music. Let's wear our masks so we can play shows soon.
Shit, yeah, man. I appreciate you, dude. Thank you very much for coming on. I do have one more song that I'd like to play. What is the name of this Plague of Stars album again, dude?
Are you playing the new single, the one that we did today?
No, I'm going to go
the first record.
Just the one on 2019.
Oh, Daedalus.
Okay.
Yep, Daedalus, our record. Yep.
And I'm going to do that going out here. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. We got a few people left in the chat room. I appreciate you all for checking this out. I appreciate everybody for checking it out after the fact as well. Thank you very much for taking the time to check out the video. Don't forget to subscribe to Ritual Madness Podcast on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook as well. I'm going to be doing these live shows on Facebook. We may have to move them to YouTube depending. I've been trying to think about doing this restream thing where I can hit multiple angles, Twitch and YouTube, and the live stream as well. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me through this whole thing. I took some time off. I needed some time to clear my head and get things together. I've been working towards this to get a little video in the aspect. And Will, thank you again for coming on and doing this again. You're always welcome, man, and I appreciate you very much.
Likewise. Hey, Greg, thanks for coming back, man. These are always cool times. I appreciate being invited on. I think this is like the 4th time I've done the show now, maybe the 5th.
Yes, sir.
But I think, but I appreciate you continuing to do this for the community, and I hope to give you a big goddamn bear hug when I see you again.
I hope so too, brother.
Right.
Good luck with everything, brother, and we'll be talking soon.
Sounds great, Greg.
All right, brother. Take care of yourself. Yeah.
Later.
All right, folks. We're gonna go out with their title track, Daedalus. Daedalus? Is that what it is?
Daedalus, you got it.
Okay, I'll butcher everybody's name. You know that. But we're gonna go out with some Plague of Stars, folks. Thank you very much. Check out ritualmadnesspodcast.com. Also check out Anti-Broadcasting if you're looking to get some t-shirts done. Hit those guys up. Again, antibroadcasting at gmail.com. Hit them at 612-836-9488. Also, hit up Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective if you're looking to get some new tattoo work. Some fantastic folks over there at Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective. 612-353-4755, or drop them a line at lowbrowsaints@gmail.com. Again, thank you for tuning in, folks. Have a good evening. Be safe. Wear your mask. Be good to each other. Peace.
old man